Well, welcome back to the Portland metro area. We're having yet another heat wave, and while the AC does work pretty good, I am finding it does have limits and having to adapt on the fly, but doing pretty good. I am not overheating, and I've actually gone to a cooling center more than once now, just to kind of cool things down and get back to normal for a few hours here and there. But today we're going to be working on the solar on the roof. I'm going to explain how that all works, my thought process behind it, and I have someone that was able to do it. So yeah, nice to actually get another thing checked off the list. And from the little bit I've been using it, it is very, very handy. By the way, generic comment-driven YouTube disclaimer, there's a lot of talking in this video. I use a wheelchair to get around, which means I can't crawl up on the roof. So if you want to know how to install solar, you probably want to watch something else. This is more of me explaining some of the problems and things I'm trying to overcome, and sort of the challenges when you use a wheelchair and you're living in a bus. So anyways, just wanted to say that because comments. Enjoy. All right, so we finally have solar up on the roof. It's one of those things that you can kind of try and plan it out. I looked at a bunch of people online that have converted these buses, and some people use Unistrut, some screwed the panels directly to the roof. And I was leaning more towards just screwing them directly to the roof, but then, well, you can't really plan. But luckily, one of my friends texted me, and he was going to be in town for a few days. So I said, hey, can you stop by and help me get this stuff on the roof? So he went up there, took a look around, took a bunch of pictures. We figured out I wanted 4 panels ideally, and after a little bit of screwing around and whatnot, we determined that using Unistrut would be the best way to do it. Just the 3/4 inch stuff. I wanted the panels to be slightly angled, but as low profile as possible. As it turns out, the way the structure of this bus is, the best way to mount them was getting 10-foot sticks of Unistrut, which conveniently allows us to put a total of 6 panels up there. So I'm basically upgrading from what I thought I was going to use, which was 4, to a total of 6. And that's going to put me in the zone where I don't have to worry about charging the batteries and power and whatnot. So I've been running the generator during the day. My AC over here pulls my entire, it basically maxes out my electrical feed that I have plugged into the grid here. So to run everything else in here, I've been using the inverter and the batteries, but the power hasn't been super reliable here. And the batteries can recharge overnight just fine. But if the power goes out at night and the batteries are low, there's not enough capacity to run my breathing machine and everything else I need overnight. So I've been running the generator instead. Now, the generator works well. It's uses maybe 1.5 gallons a day, but loading it in and out of the other van and moving it around is kind of a pain. So the solar panels will run everything else in here. Pretty much full tilt, the fridge, ice maker, a couple of fans, the computer, everything else I need in here is at a maximum 350 watts. So if we have 600 watts of solar up there, and actually thanks to some clever sorcery of the Victron MPPT solar charge controller, we're getting pretty much exactly what the panels are rated for, which is 100 watts each. Now, I haven't actually done a lot of testing yet. I just got everything hooked up today. Actually, here, I'll show you. So right here is where the panels come down inside. And yes, I just mounted everything to the ceiling. I don't care what this looks like. It needs to be functional for me. So I needed the disconnect where I can reach it. I just bumped the seat elevator up and I can turn that on and off. And the cables basically run down in here and then go down below and through the electrical stuff and connect up and all that. No big deal. But right now, the 2 panels that I have installed, because I only had 2 panels, are on this side and they're angled like this. Now the sun is over there. I got everything hooked up probably about 5 p.m. So the light is just barely hitting the panels, and I was getting 100 watts out of just the 2 of them in series. So it'll be interesting to see in the morning when the sun is actually hitting these things straight on at about 10 a.m. or so, what kind of power we're actually getting. It's one of those things, living in a bus has kind of forced me to become very power efficient and not have a lot of extra things pulling power that are not 100% necessary. So as a result of that, I've been, gosh, what's it been? 6-7 months now or something more than that. Maybe I've been living in this bus. I've gotten pretty used to not using a whole lot of power. So 600 watts worth of panels on the roof is going to be perfect. That will more than cover everything I need, keep my batteries charged up, because these are lead acid batteries, and running them past 50% depth of charge every day probably isn't the best thing for them. My plan is to eventually get some lithium iron phosphate solar rack, or server rack batteries. I figure about 200 amp hours of those should be about good. But those things are roughly $1,100 for each 100 amp hour unit. So that's not going to be anytime soon. It's not a huge priority. Right now I have enough battery capacity to get through a day and a night just running my breathing machine, and in the wintertime running the pellet stove. Anyways, we're making progress here. Oh, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but as far as the holding tanks are concerned for the bathroom, specifically the toilet, I've got everything sorted out there now, and I don't have to drive this thing to a dump site or anything like that to take care of it. They make these pump systems, and you can basically just use a garden hose and pipe it down the drain or into the nearby septic or whatnot. But it's nice to have that taken care of as well. So, I think I'm gonna try and push to get these solar panels installed pretty quick. This is July 10th, and August is normally the hot month, so I need to get the rest of the panels and everything taken care of so that I don't have to run the generator and I can run the AC and all that stuff. But anyways, I filmed a few clips of, I think, installing some stuff maybe. I don't know, I'm filming this all out of order. But anyways, let's move on to whatever is next. My arm is cramping up. Okay, back over here at the power distribution bay. Still got a few things I need to clean up in here, but anyways, so here is our solar charge controller here. This thing can handle 100 volts of solar input and output up to 30 amps. So these big red and black cables here are the high voltage coming down from the solar panels, and those run up inside to that disconnect I have mounted on the ceiling in there, and then up through the roof to the panels. So anyways, everything's all taken care of now. We've got, this is our grid battery charger right here, and basically these two things work together depending on different things, and they can be programmed. All these blue things have their own network. Over here is our 24 to 12 volt converter. So that takes our 24 volts here and allows me to run 12 volt electronics or things inside. That thing can handle 20 amps, so that's fine, because I got two fuse panels in there. But anyways, yeah, the new breakers we installed a few videos back have been doing good. These things actually pass through the proper amount of power, so that's awesome. I need to get the air compressor out and blow some of this dirt and stuff out of here. We have yet another hole in the floor. As you can see right there, that's the inlet to our dual hose converted air conditioner we have. So air to cool the condenser on that thing comes from in here. On the other side, we've got some openings. Pulls it up through there, does its thing, blasts it back out here, down into this area, and down to the ground. And that's been working great. So anyways, here's where we're at right now. Looks kind of like a little bit of a cluster, but some of these control lines and stuff I still got to do some things with, and this random tube here is just temporary until I get my actual plumbing installed. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this right now. We're getting power from the sun, and ooh, chemtrails. Okay, so I've got this generator over here. It's the one we used in a video a couple of years ago. Battery in it's no good anymore, and I think the charge regulator in the generator might be bad. But in the meanwhile, I bought a replacement battery. It's a non-sealed AGM battery. It's one of these ones though where you have to add the electrolyte yourself. So I guess we're gonna do that. Actually, I should probably verify that this thing fits in here first. This thing was $89 with a $12 core. And then I had to buy a little 1.5 amp charger that was 37 bucks for this because I don't have a small battery charger. It's not sealed, it is AGM. On Amazon, you can get a sealed version of this with slightly less cold cranking amps for $37. All the reviews claim that they worked in people's motorcycles for like 3 or 4 years. But I don't know. None of those can be here for like 2 weeks though. And I kind of need to have the generator electric start working. I can pull the rope, but 2 things. 1, that rope's gonna break soon, I can tell. And 2, it's a little bit hard to do on my shoulders. So I guess we're going to activate and charge this battery. First off though, we should probably verify that it fits in there. So here's the old Sign Master. This thing I originally bought when I was daily driving a short bus. I hung this off the back of it. Actually, I think I've got some photos of that. But I hung this thing off the back of it to power an air conditioner that I had inside the short bus. The little latch broke off. But it's a nice little generator and it's pretty quiet. So in theory, the battery, I've got the hold down brackets for it over here, but in theory, this battery should fit in here. Hang on, this will need 2 hands. Okay, well, looks like to me it fits. The positive and negative are on the opposite side. I think all of our hoses and wires are clearing in here. It's our drain lines here for fuel and stuff. Yeah, cool. We'll call that good. All right, let's go ahead and activate this battery. It's a Microsoft Windows battery. It needs activation. Okay, so we have our little bolts and screws to attach everything. Some sort of road map that comes with it. 9BS. So 4 to 8 hours of charging. Okay, well, I should probably be wearing gloves to do this, but I don't have any gloves that are non-reactive with sulfuric acid. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it's better to not wear gloves than it would be to wear gloves that react with sulfuric acid. Because then you have a sticky mess of chemicals attached to your hands. This is sort of a no drip system anyways, so yeah, we'll see here. And I'm doing this on the garbage can. It's sitting a little bit of ways away from me. So in theory, if anything drips off, it's not gonna get on me. Although I should have eye protection on. Hang on, let me grab something to put on my face. And hey, what do you know? After some rummaging around, I found my chemical gloves. All right, now we're all set. So, the way this works is you pop the cap off of this and there's some little knives down inside there. So you pop these off, and then as you can see, we've got little foil thingies on there. And all we do is tip this upside down and gently mash it on. And the camera falls over. Okay, I didn't set up my tripod correctly. But anyways, as you might be able to see there, we've got some bubbling occurring. And we are filling this battery. I'm gonna rotate this around so it's on the uphill side. There we go. And yeah, now we wait a minute or 3. Wait, where's the lid for this? Oh, I guess you're supposed to reuse these and put them on top of the battery, what was on the bottle. Interesting. Huh. Details. All right, well, I'm gonna let this do its thing. I'll be back whenever it's done and sealed up. Okay, fast forward about 100 million hours. We've got this battery charged and installed. I'm not a huge fan of the cable management in this thing, but like, I don't know, it's been working fine enough so far. So let's go ahead and turn on the fuel, set the choke, turn the key, and see what happens. Hey, it seems to run. Sweet. I just need to get a replacement door latch for this thing now. I've just been using this bungee cord. But, gets the job done. Oh, I just remembered. We need to get a voltmeter and verify if that's actually charging or not. I don't think it is. Okay, we got the voltmeter out here. To be fair, I really don't care if this thing is charging or not. If it's not, I can just come out here and hook up a charger every so often, and that's no big deal. Okay, so we got 13.17 volts. Yeah, I think the battery's just going slowly back up to its own voltage. I feel like it should be higher than that. Actually, here, we can test that by turning off the key. Yeah, okay, so this thing's not charging at all. No big deal. I'll just remember to plug in the battery every couple of weeks or every 10 starts or something like that. I would like to get a couple of years out of this battery if possible, since I'm into this thing over $100 freaking dollars because of the core and all that stuff. So anyways, yeah. All right, when I bought this bus, was it back last August or whatever, I determined that I needed the service manual for it, and it was about 1,100 pages. So what I did to try and save some space and paper maybe was print it so that it's double-sided and there's 4 pages per sheet. Only 2 problems with that. One, when you're trying to use this, the pages hinge this way, which takes up a lot more space. And also, when you get into things like wiring schematics and whatnot, all the labels are really tiny and hard to see. So then I remembered, I got a 3-hole punch and a bunch of binders and stuff. So we went through and did this. Now we have the whole thing in these 4 separate books here, and it's all a lot easier to read. They're full page. I still did double-sided, but only 2 pages per sheet. So this allows for actually being able to read schematics and drawings and diagrams and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of one of those things where I like paper and analog stuff when it comes to service manuals and books and things like that. It's just a lot easier to open one of these up and lay it flat as opposed to trying to scroll through on an iPad or something like that. I don't know, like someone mentioned an ebook reader, which would actually probably work pretty well, but I don't know. I just like having this here. My hands can be a little bit dirty and you don't really have to worry about, you know, batteries and all that stuff. So anyways, random thing. And yeah, now I just need a bookshelf or something in here to put these on because they kind of slide all over the place. But at least we have them all done now. And I believe it was a 1,087 pages or something like that. But yeah, I used an entire $50 ink cartridge to print this. But it makes me happy. Oh, and one other thing I'm going to do as well, I ordered a whole bunch of those index tabs so I can go through and mark out each chapter because there's a lot of stuff. So this goes up to section 4, and then we've got, this is just section 12 and 13 here, and then this is like 14 to 18, I think. And there's a bunch of supplemental stuff in here as well. So I got a bunch of those tabs ordered, so I'll be able to go through and actually organize all this as well. All right, well, I went and grabbed my mail, and here we should have those index tabs, I believe. Of course, this box is locked, apparently. There we go. Got a bunch of these little foldable guys here with some labels. And then also, this is a voltage monitor that's compatible with the smart network that all my Victron stuff uses. And this little guy is a temperature sensor and voltage monitor for the batteries in the bus. This thing will basically report exactly what the temperature of the batteries and the voltage of the batteries are to all the chargers and everything else on the network. That way, if there's any sort of resistance in the cabling or whatnot, or if both of them have slightly different measurements just due to manufacturing tolerances, this thing will give them both a single reference point of the voltage. So anyways, we're gonna install that later when it's not as hot outside. Okay, I decided to come out here. This side of the bus is in the shade and there's a pretty good wind, so we're not doing too bad. Went ahead and installed our temperature and voltage sensor here. And basically that just goes across our series banks and tells this thing the voltage exactly at the batteries. Because the chargers being over here, there's gonna be a little bit of resistance coming through all the wires and everything. And like I said before, these things are gonna be maybe 1/10 of a volt or more off just due to how they're built. So this will give them both a solid reference point and also give us temperature sensing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that linked into the network and we should be good. Okay, quick update on the solar stuff. It's been a couple of days. Well, I've got one full day of data. I was able to get, I'm trying to remember. Hang on, let me check again. Okay, over the course of one day with the 2 panels up there, I was able to get 1.27 kilowatt hours out of those 2 panels with a maximum of 185 watts combined between the 2 of them at its peak. So I've gone ahead and actually ordered 2 more of those panels. So I'll have the 4, which was the minimum that I'll need. And today will probably be the last day that I have to pull the generator out. Well, not today, but I think they're being delivered on Saturday. But anyways, once those get delivered, well, then I guess I have to have someone come out here and put them up there. Anyways, we'll figure it out. But today, or last night rather, it only got down to 71 outside, which didn't quite give us enough cooling to get this thermal mass cooled down. And this morning by about 10:30 in the morning, it was 91 degrees in here. So taking a slightly different approach today, there's a lot of wind right now. So I've shut down the air conditioner and I've got the hatches open. I've got some fans running in here and we're basically just pulling air through the bus. And I'm wearing basketball shorts instead of something else. I probably shouldn't be wearing a black shirt. But also we're not using any of the desktop computers. I'm editing this video on a laptop, which will end up with less heat being put into here. And I'm not gonna be cooking anything with the toaster oven today. It's about 5 o'clock right now and we're coming into the hottest part of the day. Our temperature went up. So it was 84 in here, and actually while I've been editing, it's gone up to 90. So that's past the threshold where I'm just gonna close everything back up and turn on the AC, and I think we should be good. If not, I'll just fire up the engine and cool it down that way, but we're having another mini heat wave. Always something, right? But anyways, doing pretty good. The AC does keep up pretty well as long as the previous night we are able to get the core temperature of everything down here. And actually earlier today when it got kind of warm in here this morning, I went to a building that has very powerful AC and hung out there for about 4 hours. Brought the laptop, of course. Got to get some work done. But anyways, yeah, solar. It's really cool. My arm's getting tired, as it always does. There we go. I'm holding it with my other hand. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. Solar just seems cool to me. You get free energy from the sun. And it's crazy when you think about the small sliver of the sunlight that hits the earth as opposed to what its total output power is. I forget what the effective wattage per square foot on the ground is, but yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. The price on the solar panels went up. I was looking at them a couple days ago when I mentioned ordering more in this video, and they were about $95 each. Well, now they are $126 each. So anyways, I pulled the trigger on 2 more. I do have room for 2 more additional ones. So I'm probably not going to do that right off because it's not a super high priority. I'd rather spend another $225 on other things like the plumbing in here. But I don't normally ask for money, and I guess I kind of am. But anyways, the Amazon wish list is up. If you feel like buying me any of the random parts, it's linked down below. But yeah, on Saturday when I'm assuming they're going to install themselves, but once I get the 4 up there, we'll be set. Anyways, I'm going in loops now. I'm going to get the AC fired up and get cooled down. And then, yeah, I think that's probably about it for this video. All right, thanks for hanging out as per usual, and I will catch you guys in a few days. See ya!